Hi there, I'm Sylvia
And I'm Linda Hollington.
and we're both realtors with Coldwell Banker, and we want to welcome you to the porch. We're inside right now because it is a big lawn mowing day out there. We're here.
We got chased off the porch.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about appraisals. Now, we've talked about buyers and sellers. Part of the whole buying and selling process are appraisals, right?
Very important part.
And a good appraiser is going to appreciate that the realtor, whether for the seller or for the buyer, does their due diligence. As a realtor for the seller, the listing agent, I do not try to influence the appraiser because they are professional, but I provide the comps or the comparables that I used for pricing the home. And I leave that with the whole packet for the appraiser. If they want, they are most welcome to see what I used as the realtor for the listing.
Yeah, and the lender is the one that decides on the scope of the appraisal. You've heard that, and I've known appraisers that they just drove up to make sure the house was really there and they left. That was about it. But that scope is left up to the lender. It is how much they want to know about the house. So they could have a long list or short list, but it's entirely, the lender is the one that's going to hire the appraiser.
Okay, and it's my understanding that Fannie, it depends on what kind of loan you're getting. They have different requirements and different needs from the appraisal. So Fannie, Freddie, and your VA loans, they all have a little bit of different things that they require and or demand.
Right, and we'll talk about that in a few minutes too. Some buyers think, especially in this market, we're going to waive the inspection, we're going to waive the appraisal so we can get this house. But if you are borrowing money, you are more than likely going to have an appraiser come in and do an appraisal whether you want them to or not.
Right.
The lender is not going to lend the money without it.
Right.
Yeah. So that is probably not going to happen. If you're paying cash, you can waive everything.
Right.
Yeah. And then you're buying it at your own risk pretty much.
Now, if the appraisal comes in different than the sales price, and it could come in quite different because, as you know, we're in a very hot seller's market and there's a lot of competition and the prices are escalating for the homes. So there could be a difference in appraisal, and what happens then is either the buyer matches that chunk of money that the appraiser and the bank say, no, it's not worth that, or they renegotiate.
Right. That's about the two choices that you have.
Okay.
You do have sometimes an option. If it comes into us and we think, where in the world did they get that appraisal? We did the comps on this. This house is worth way more than that. We have an option, but we have to go to the lender now, not the appraiser, and talk to them and kind of show them what our argument is to see if we could work out something in that regard, because that can happen too. They make a mistake, they forget a bedroom, something like that. That could really change the difference in what they come back in with their appraisal once they get back to the office.
So we would have the renegotiation between the seller and the buyer. Now, there are some hot buttons, though, Linda, and you brought this list, and I think it's fantastic.
Yeah, I was given, from one of my instructors, I was given a list by Cynthia DeLuca that I use with this is mostly for sellers when they're preparing their homes. We're going to prepare for the appraisal as well. And these are some of the hot buttons. The very first one they have on the list is mechanical systems. And houses these days have not just heat and utilities and stoves and dryers. They have all kinds of technical things in there, and they all have to, it's all part of the appraisal. So you have to have those all in working order. If they are listed on your listing as part of the value of the house, they're going to be part of the appraisal. So make sure they're in working order. That's very important. And then there's a really big one, which I probably would have put first because it's almost the first question any buyer wants to know.
This is the roof. How old is the roof? What kind of roof is it? And that is something that any damage that's been done to the roof shingles, there may have been a storm. They are going to be very, very careful about the roof. Your insurance company is also going to come in and make a judgment call.
Another thing you want to do is walk around and look at all your wood trims. Your windows, your doors, your garage door, anything that's outside your trims, even inside and in your crawl spaces and all the places that there's any kind of trim, anything around there, you want to take a good look around. And even your outbuildings. That's part of what you're offering.
Yes. The thing is paint. That's a big one. Paint is part of the normal process for taking care of a home. So if the paint is peeling or old or just totally washed out, that is something that makes it less desirable as far as from an appraisal point of view. So these are all things as a seller, it's good to get with the program, get it in show shape, and not just for show and for pretty. We're talking about the real structure and the health of the home.
Right. The other thing is septic tanks. We have a lot of septic tanks in Florida in places you wouldn't think they would be.
Yeah.
So we want to make sure, first of all, we know we have one, and most likely do an inspection, because the appraisal or the appraiser may ask for confirmation on when it was serviced last and those type of things before she or he finishes their appraisal. So that's another consideration if you're dealing with a septic tank. Make sure it's up to date and that you have the paperwork for it.
Now, another thing is private streets. We have a lot of private streets, a lot in Palm Bay, I know, but we also, the thing is that it depends, they have to be, all the information about the private street has to be given to the appraiser and to the bank, because it makes a difference as far as their investment in this property, as the bank's investment in this property and the buyer. So all of that information needs to be given. There is determination where the water for the fire hydrants is and things like that. So it's best to have everything prepared and everything ready so that there aren't any blindsided and there aren't any bumps in the road.
Yeah, definitely they can cause, I know last year 60-day delay on closing on a deal just from trying to find out who's responsible for the street when it's not a dedicated street, those type of things. So it's very important. The crawl space. Yeah, I kind of mentioned that earlier. In Florida, you do not have basements usually, but you may have a crawl space below the house. I've seen a few houses with maybe kind of like a half basement. Couldn't quite stand up in it, but they called it a basement. It's a crawl space. And most of them are in the top, like an attic in the house. And they will be particularly paying attention to what's going on inside of there. Is it, the insulation, water damage, those kind of things, because it speaks to the roof and the structure.
Construction.
Yeah.
Then we also talk about broken windows, anything to do with the screens or the windows or any kind of damage whatsoever, any fogginess, things like that. Those are important. Those are a big part of a large investment, which is the home. So
they're a real big deal. And your doors. Stucco. Some of the homes are not concrete. They have a stucco finish over them. Gives them that nice finish over the outside, and it adds strength to the walls. But they can be done incorrectly, even in a new home, and they can be damaged. So they'll be looking for any damage to the stucco. Check particularly the top along the roof, along the bottom. I've seen things along the bottom and the top mostly, around your windows. Again, any place that it's been repaired. There's nothing wrong with repairs. It just may be a question that you may have to answer, so be prepared to do that.
And then the last thing on this list are the doors. Interior doors, exterior doors. They all have to be functioning, opening and closing properly, locks working, in case of fire, in case of the hurricanes and the storm damage and things like that. So these are all things check it all out. Now, you did a market update every
I do
week.
have one. These are the county statistics, and as of yesterday, this is just a one-day total, there were 795 active residential homes. That includes condos, townhouses, single family, everything. That's not very many. That's on the market are going up. They're in the high 20s right now, compared to 10 and down, which we were seeing.
That's a big difference. That's
Yeah.
a real significant difference.
And we talked last week that more people are considering getting on the market now.
Yes.
And we're hearing rumors about that every day. And for those of you that are wondering about foreclosures, I mapped the this includes pre-foreclosure, foreclosure, and all that. And again, caution, Sylvia reminded me these are properties that do not move fast. So we're just trying to keep you informed, that's all. So we thank you for joining us. And if you have questions, want to contact us, you can contact us on Facebook, The Porch, or through our email, which is theporch321@gmail. You can send us a question. We can answer it personally for you, contact you personally, or we can do a little segment here. But we're just happy that you joined us.
Yeah.
And we thank you.
Thanks.
Have a
We'll
great
see you
day.
next week.
Yes.
Bye.